I think we have a good attendance here. Let's start things off. Good morning, Denver, and everyone else who's joining us from different parts of the country today. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join us today. I know that this session specifically was supposed to be in person, but we're so happy you can join us virtually. I'm Pallavi. I'm part of the business development team, and I work closely with the Fabric team. I'm very excited to kick things off. Today, we have a very strong session and a very strong set of panels present here. I'll be announcing the speakers before they start off, but I'm just first and foremost really happy that all of us are present here to take the session. The session is broadly divided into 4 parts. So we'll have Alex, our Director of Technology, who'll be kicking things off with a strong introduction. And from there onwards, we have Shikhar. Shikhar and his team who will be presenting more about Fabric. We have Asif Hussain who will be talking a little bit about Copilot Studio, and Sarmad who will be talking about AI Foundry. We also have a workshop that's planned towards the end of the session, so please do stay back so that you're able to attend that as well. Throughout the sessions, you can raise your hands if you have any questions, but at the end of the session, we also have time for a Q&A. So you can drop your questions in the chat or raise your hands and we will be able to take your questions and answer them. I think we're all set here. Let's start off strong. I do have a Q&A or sort of a poll that's prepared for everyone. You can scan this QR code and it'll lead you to a Mentimeter page. I'll just wait here for a few seconds so that you guys can scan it. This poll is just a quick temperature check. I just want to know how everyone's doing. We have 18, 19 people joined so far, waiting for a few more. What AI tools are you regularly using? A lot of Copilot, GitHub Copilot. Fabric, that's awesome. Perplexity, Grok, Claude. Claude's my favorite too. Awesome. Moving on to the next question. Based on your perspective, what would be the appropriate priority for automating the following tasks? So you can move them around and according to what you think would be the best, what would be the ranking for automating the following tasks? We love this question because it usually gives us a great idea about how people are thinking about using AI to move things and automate it in a certain way. Troubleshooting issues, approval flows. Oh, it's changing. Scheduling meetings, repetitive tasks. Awesome. Moving to the next question, what is the latest AI project that you've worked on? It could just be a line or two describing what you've done. We'll take a few answers here. Building a Copilot agent, that's a good one. Agent building. Image analysis, writing my presentations, I do that too. Automated data analytics. Automating workflows. Research on compliance. Awesome. Thank you so much for your answers, everyone. Let's move to the next one. What percentage of companies will deploy AI agents by 2026? Also, this is my favorite question. I love to see how people are either extremely optimistic or really pessimistic. So, 60%. Awesome. We've seen some 100% in the past, but this is good. And this is just a quick question for a opportunity to win a prize. Type a quick AI joke, and it has to be a one-liner. Alex, would you like to pick the funniest one this time?
Yep, sure.
A machine learning algorithm walks into a bar. The bar is what you have. The algorithm says what everyone else after.
Yeah.
AI. It's lost. Okay, that's funny. What was the AI's favorite movie? The Matrix. It was a family reunion. That's funny. Those guys make everything up. We'll take a few more before Alex is forced to choose
Yeah.
out of these. Alex, you have a favorite yet? I think this is all that we have so far.
Yeah. I think like I'll go
Oh,
with what was the AI's favorite movie, The Matrix.
The Matrix.
Yeah.
That was my favorite too.
Yeah.
Whoever typed that, if you could like just drop your name in the chat and we'll know it's you. But thank you so much for everyone to participate in this. This is just a fun way so that we know that you're still there and you're listening to us and we can have some way of interaction with you. But I'll move swiftly into our agenda. A little bit about Royal Cyber. We are a digital transformation company that specializes in services, solutions, and software. We've been present for 20 plus years. We have 2,000 plus employees globally, 500 plus certified consultants, and we're operating in 10 plus offices with 600 plus clients across the globe. We have multiple technology partnerships across different domains, and we're really excited to speak to you today. This is again a little bit about our agenda. So we have a little bit about Fabric, data agents, enterprise agentic AI, and MS Foundry, advanced agent development with Copilot Studio, and then a hands-on workshop by Jazel. I'll move this to Alex. Alex is our Director of Technology. Thank you so much, Alex, for taking it up from here.
Yep, sure.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Is my screen all good? Shikhar or Pallavi, can you guys confirm?
Yes.
Yep.
So
Okay. First of all, thank you all for taking time to join this event. I'm going to start with a simple but a most powerful fact. I saw most of them answered like 60 or 80% of the companies will be deploying their AI agents. But as per the fact that by the end of this year, 67% of Fortune 500 companies will have deployed autonomous agents in production. The question for leadership is no longer if AI will transform your business, but whether you will be part of this 67% or be left explaining to your board why you aren't, right? And every organization want to become a frontier organization. So you'll have to do things differently. So what will you do differently to become that frontier organization? We are moving from assistance to autonomy. The old way was sequential, where humans did the work and asked AI for help. Like, for example, if you're writing a sales email, so you open a CRM, you switch to ChatGPT or any AI for that matter, and you ask it to draft an email. You open, go back to you copy the response from ChatGPT, you go back to your CRM, paste the response there, and try to send an email. Similarly, for finance reporting, analysts will run manual reports, then ask Copilot to summarize the key trends, right? So sequential steps, manual handoffs are needed. Now we are switching from assistance to autonomy, where agents will monitor CRM 24/7. It will auto score leads, draft personalized outreach, routes hot leads to the humans, autonomous execution with oversight. And similarly, in finance, agents reconcile invoices overnight, flags anomalies, prepares variance analysis for CFO review at 8 a.m. Agents work while you are at sleep, right? So the new way, the frontier firm approach, uses a governed autonomy where agents do the work while humans govern and make final decisions. So let's take another brief moment to see like how are agents currently being used within your organizations today. So if you can go to the Mentimeter and use this code 6422930 to answer this question, how are AI agents currently being used within your organization today? Is it for like draft recommendation only, or take action with human approval, or execute low risk tasks autonomously, or escalate exceptions automatically, or run end-to-end workflows in limited areas? We'll give like a brief pause here and move on to the next slide. Pallavi, can you check if you're getting the answers here? Once again, is my screen good, Pallavi?
Your screen's good. I'm just
Okay.
looking for the answers.
Did
Yeah.
did you have answers coming in? While you check, I'm going to move on to the next slides. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So where exactly are agents creating value, right? In IT services operation, there's approximately 40% less in tickets. So we are seeing a 40% reduction in tickets through an automatic triage. In finance, agents are saving 80% of the time previously spent on reconciliations, and in customer service they are leading to 50% faster resolutions. Like in all these areas where it is mentioned, like IT services operation, talent, and onboarding, sales and rev ops, close and reconciliation, customer service, and supply chain ops, we are seeing uh, agents creating value. So to understand where we are, we have to look at where we have been. We have moved from the rule-based system of the 80s to the reactive machine learning of the 2010s. Now in 2026, we have reached the inflection point of native autonomous AI, where the systems can use computer like human would and handle massive enterprise contexts. So at the heart of this shift is OpenClaw. It's an open community-driven platform for building these claws or agents. It transforms LLMs from passive chatbots to active software that can execute commands, observe system responses, and iterate until a goal is met. The adoption of OpenClaw has been unprecedented, reaching 300,000 GitHub starts in just like 8 weeks. It's growing like 150 times faster than React did in its early days, signaling a massive industry shift from software as a service to agent as a service. So what makes agent different from a chatbot? While chatbots are reactive and stateless, agents are proactive and persistent. They have long-term memory, can discover their own tools and APIs, and work across browsers and terminals to compute multi-step workflows. So Copilot Cowork is one such autonomous agent tool from Microsoft. If you have used Copilot, You have seen how quickly it can help you find an answer or draft an email. Over the last year, Microsoft has been pushing Copilot towards taking action. That means completing tasks, running workflows, and doing work on your behalf. Copilot Cowork is built for that. It helps Copilot take action, not just chat. When you hand off a task to Copilot, it turns your request into a plan. The plan continues in the background with clear checkpoints so you can confirm progress, make changes, or pause an execution at any time. Cowork checks if it needs any clarification. You can see any action that is that it is recommending, then approve changes before they are applied. Copilot works independently without giving up the control. What has stood out is how naturally cowork fits into a busy day. It is easy to have a dozen tasks in flight at once, each one moving forward while you focus on what only you can do. The era of Copilot execution is here. Let's look at a real world scenario, a common scenario pretty much in every organization, which is employee onboarding. Usually this takes like hours of manual work. Why? When you onboard an employee, you have to provide him with like provisions like Jira, GitHub, AWS, or whatever accounts, in parallel. So the autonomous agents are reducing this effort from like 4 to 6 hours to getting it done in like less than 15 minutes. So the organization of the future is partnership between humans and agents. Human focus on strategy, creative problem solving, and complex judgment, while agents provide the 24/7 scale for repetitive tasks like QA, DevOps, and data reporting. So to become a frontier firm, you must redesign work around agents. This requires three things: governed autonomy, grounding the AI in your specific enterprise data, and redefining your team roles and KPIs to account for this hybrid workforce. To enable this core principles, we use tools like Microsoft Fabric, Azure AI Foundry, and Copilot Studio and getting it done. And this isn't an overnight change. We recommend a phased approach. So for example, Q2 and Q3 of this year should be about piloting high impact use cases. By 2027, you should be scaling these autonomous operations with centralized governance and continuous model optimizations. As we move into the deeper technical sections, I want you to think about your own organization, where you are in this end-to-end data and AI journey. Are you still building the foundation, or are you ready to start orchestrating with the agents? To talk more about data and data agents, I would like to invite Shikhar and Yulin from the Fabric team. Shikhar, over to you. I couldn't hear you. Can you guys hear Shikhar?
Okay.
Shikhar
Hello.
needs to unmute.
Yes, now
Hi,
yes.
Shikhar.
Yeah, my bad. I was not unmuted.
Yeah, you can
Right.
start sharing your screen.
Alrighty.
Just a note and reminder for all the participants, if you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll be able to take your question then and there. Or if not, you can also drop them in the chat box and we can take it up from there as well. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shikhar Saraswat. I'm the technical client partner with Royal Cyber for Microsoft Fabric. Along with me, I have Yulin Feng, who is the data scientist on my team. Together, we've been working on several projects on Fabric, also making some in-house demos and products offering various features of Fabric like real-time intelligence, working on dashboards, how Terraform scripts can actually help you manage your Fabric workspaces, the complete end-to-end deployment pipelines, which are triggered through your Git. So there are many things that we've been doing, and along with that, we've been following the AI offerings of this platform. So before I begin, I want to focus on this slide, which tells you what the agentic organizational journey would look like. So if you look at all these four phases of this journey, the first comes out to be data foundation, where we are going to work on creating a concrete single source of truth where your whole organization can start working on the same data. So you're contributing and extracting data from single source of truth. Along with this, since these platforms are really modern, like Microsoft Fabric itself, we also have AI intelligence, which is integrated within the data platform itself. So you don't have to work on specific other tools in order to integrate your intelligence on top of existing data. So the idea is pretty simple. You get your data warehouse set up, you configure it for your AI or the LLMs to use the similar data and start working on it. So we're going to see some demos, but I'm going to cover the first two part of this journey, followed by orchestration through AI Foundry, which is going to be taken by Sarmat, and finally the presentation layer, which Asif will be taking care of. Before we begin, I just want to see how things are in our attendance today. So this is for me to understand how does the landscape look like, the people that I'm engaging with, where they are in their journey, what tools are they using as of now, and so that I understand what to focus more on. So before we switch the slides, I hope you guys can quickly scan this so that I can go to the actual poll. I'll wait for a few seconds and then we'll change the screen. Okay. Yulin, do you want to take it up?
Yep.
So let's see the responses. So in the current journey, 8 out of the 16 are in the data ingestion phase. This is the first one which we focus at. And this is a good sign because this is where you start building your foundation correctly. AI analytics, that's amazing. I'm assuming it's a good distribution between AI and analytics. But the best part about a platform which is as modern as Fabric, you can start working on your AI while you're building your analytics dashboard. So it feeds on the same semantic models, the same lakehouse tables that you're using for your analytics pipeline, and you can start configuring your AI on top of it. Orchestration and governance, that's amazing. Final presentation, and not sure. So not sure is also something that we see pretty often because it's really difficult to see how and where to explore all the potential of these platforms. And that's what we try to fill in. Can you change this one, Yula?
Yep.
So I see a lot of Copilot. We also have Databricks AI. Okay. So this would be a good comparison of the AI offerings and the cost comparison for our Fabric and Databricks. I see a lot of us are using Copilot. That's amazing. We have this super sweet integration between Copilot, AI Foundry, and Microsoft Fabric, which we're going to see later down the line. Okay, but lovely. I see a lot of Copilots. All right, that's good. Switching back to my slides. Before we start, we're going to see how things are, what data agents actually are, and why do they matter. So the first question that comes to my mind is, why are we even talking about data agents? What's the big deal? So think about all the data that's flowing around in any of your organization. let's assume that we have a university where we have number of students, we have their financial reports, their records, their enrollment numbers, the courses they opted for. It's everywhere, but it's messy. Data agents are basically the layer that takes all that raw scattered data and turns it into something that AI can actually use. So it's governed, it's queryable, and it's ready to go.
So it's not just about storing data, right? It's about making smart.
Exactly. And there are a few key reasons that this matters. First, you get AI ready intelligence. The data that's cleaned up and structured for your analytics can also be used by your AI tools, and you can start working with the same data. Second, everything stays accurate and up to date, just like how it works with Direct Lake, and secure because you have centralized rules, lineage tracking, and permissions backed in. Third, this is a big one, it's reusable. One data agent can power your Fabric, Teams, Copilot, Azure AI Foundry, all of it.
And I'm guessing people don't need to be SQL wizard to use it, right?
Definitely. You just need to know how to talk to it. This works on the natural language queries. So you just ask a question and you get your queries answered. No technical skills are required. This brings us to what are data agents?
Okay, so let's define this a bit more clearly. What exactly is a data agent?
In simple terms, a data agent is a conversational interface to your enterprise data. It sits on top of your lakehouses, warehouses, Power BI models, KQL databases, all of it, and lets you query them using plain English.
So someone in the registrar office could just type a question instead of writing SQL?
Exactly. Any of your executives, any of your managers, you don't need to find who to ask the question. You can simply start asking to the data agent. You don't need SQL, you don't need DAX, you don't need KQL. You're not waiting on the BI team to pull a report for you. Insights come faster, and the dependency on small group of technical people drops dramatically.
That's actually a big shift in how organizations access their data.
It really is. It puts the power directly in the hands of people who needs answer.
All right, so how does this actually work end to end? Help us walk through it.
So there are two sides of this, the creator and the consumer. So if you guys look at how the end-to-end flow is working, creator is the person like us who sets up everything. They create the data agent in Fabric, they connect the data sources, they select which tables to expose, they configure instructions for how the AI should behave, and then you publish it.
And once it's published?
That's where the consumers come in. They can access the agent through multiple channels. Fabric directly, you could use Microsoft Teams, Copilot, Azure AI Foundry, and we even have an upcoming REST endpoint too, which means you can actually plug this in into your custom apps and web apps.
So it's not locked into one tool, right? It's everywhere people already work.
Exactly, that's the whole point. You meet the users where they are. Now, where do we use these data agents?
So let's look at this from a higher education perspective. How does the whole data workflow come together?
This is a great representation of looking at this. On the left, you've got your leadership and the users, deans, advisors, your executives. They can ask natural questions like the ones listed here. How has the enrollment changed this semester? What is the retention rate for the first year students? You can ask those questions, and this goes to the AI layer.
Okay, so, and at the bottom, we're seeing all the source systems feeding into this.
Yes, all the source systems that your organization might be using, for instance, any CMS, LMS, ERP systems, or EHC data, whatever data that you have, we get it into our fabric. This fabric is working on the same Power BI semantic models that you're using for your Power BI reports. You have warehouses, lake houses, and then we create an ontology layer. This layer gives the understanding of your data to our agents. These agents could now be triggered and orchestrated by Microsoft Copilot and AI Foundry. Hence, you get a multi-agentic system with you. A Fabric data agent is just um, one of the agents in your swarm of army. You don't need just a single agent working for you. You can have multiple agents based on each domain. One could be for finance, one could be for HR. We'll be seeing this in another diagram later on.
That's wonderful.
So looking at the capability and integration of data agents, we find that there is something really interesting here.
So who's actually using this stuff today? Is it still early age or are real organizations on board?
Oh no, this is very real. You've got major names who are already using AI Foundry tools like KPMG, Cognizant, Philips, and many more.
That's a pretty strong signal that this isn't just a proof of concept.
Absolutely. These organizations are running production workloads with these tools. It's validated at scale, and it's a real cross section of all the industries that are using this.
So now we keep saying agents need tools. What does that actually mean in practice?
That's a good question. Tools are what amplify the intelligence of an agent. There are three big things that they need. The first is context, the second is workflows, and the third is adaptability. The
So,
tools need
yeah.
the tools that we need to understand the policies, the data for your specific organization, your priorities. Without the business context, you're only getting generic answers. With the workflows, you need repeatable and measurable workflows, which are not manual processes. And the third, it's the adaptability. You need to flex with your business needs and costs. So you can actually tweak with what you need and what you're paying for it.
So I guess without the right tools, the agent is basically flying blind.
Pretty much, yes. You'd have lack of context. You won't have manual workflows which would give you the same results in a repeatable manner. Also, it's not highly adaptable. So if you're not on a tool that is actually configured for you to change with your business needs, it's gonna cost you even more.
So what happens when a single agent isn't enough? When a user's question could touch enrollments, analytics, compliance, or operations?
That's where the orchestration workflow comes in. So orchestration sits in the middle of all of our agents. So like how I mentioned previously, we could have a data agent for enrollments, a data agent for analytics, compliance, operations, which can now be triggered and integrated using an orchestrator agent, which could be sitting in your Copilot or AI Foundry. When you ask the questions, it goes to your orchestrator agent, it identifies the intent, it routes your query or the prompt to the correct agent. This agent will then talk to your data, create those SQL queries, get the data, create a summary, or just respond back with the same data to the orchestrator agent. It then decides, does it need to invoke any other agent? Let's say we have a question that's for um, operations and enrollment. If I ask, okay, is the student actually currently at high risk? Now I need to know whether the student is enrolled into some semester or courses. So I'll go and ask the data agent, is the student working? Is the student actually taking classes? It's going to give me the response. Then I'll go to the operational data. Okay, is he at high risk? Does he have proper attendance? Is he actually paying the fees on time? Things like that are asked to the other agent, which is working on operations data. This comes to me, I combine the result and get the answer back to the user. So that's where the native integration of Fabric's data agents and the tools, orchestration tools like AI Foundry and Copilot is coming in handy. And on top of it, we always have ontology layer, which I'll be focusing on in next, what actually ontology does. So each agent is a specialist with its own data sources and query.
So the user just asks a question in plain English, right? And all its complexity is completely hidden from them.
Correct. You don't know how this is being triggered. You can only see it when you're actually developing it. So the user would just get that one agent is responding to its queries. But in turn, it's a complex system where multiple agents are invoked. They are the responses are gathered, tailored as per your specific needs, and then the final answer is generated. So with this, I have a demo prepared where we'll be showcasing how these queries work, how the data agents work, and how they can be actually orchestrated using AI Foundry, which would be then taken care of by Sarmad. So before I switch my context to the actual demo, I would like to go through a few points.
So let's bring this home to a higher end. What's the actual pain point we're solving?
So any organization runs on data, just like universities. We have enrollments, fees, scholarships, and registrations. Every decision requires a timely and accurate information. But the reality right now, every time someone needs an answer, they're stuck in a multi-day or multi-hour waiting game.
So walk us through what does that looks like today.
Sure, if you see here, these are the steps that goes in. Step one, you submit a ticket. This then goes to the correct person. Does it go to HR department? Does it go to my IT department? Then the team writes a SQL query. The technical staff has to analyze the database. It has to understand the relationship between the tables and then write a query that goes to the business stakeholders. Then the business stakeholders write your query.
Shikhar, I think you're breaking up.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
my system had some issue. Is it okay now? Can you see my screen?
we can see your
Yeah.
screen, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my bad. So yeah, then we do a server refresh, which is basically us checking the data is accurate and up to date. It's not stale. And then finally you get an answer in few days. If not days, it's definitely going to take some hours.
That's actually very painful, especially when you need something very in the rush for a meeting in an hour.
Exactly. Today's world demands speed. We need insights in seconds, not days. This impacts the executive's experience, institutional efficiency, and competitive positioning. Is the screen changing or no?
We're still on
No.
slide 37.
Okay. Let me just share again. There's
Yeah.
something wrong with my. Sorry for this delay. It's just some technical glitch I'm facing.
No issues at all. We can see your screen now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So what's the alternative right now? What does the future look like?
The future is data agents. Meet Fabric Data Agent, your instant data analyst. It delivers critical information instantly. It's like having a senior data analyst available 24/7, answering all your complex questions with ease. No SQL, no delays, no bottlenecks.
Could you give us a concrete example of this?
Absolutely. If you look at prompt one, it says how many students are currently classified as high risk. The agent instantly calculates the risk by joining academics, attendance, and financial data. No manual SQL is needed. The prompt two, It's asking how many advisors fall into each effectiveness category. It auto-evaluates advisors across GPA, attendance, and student risks in one query without me going and prompting this in the instructions.
So it's handling complex data joins that would normally take several hours.
Exactly. The data agent handles all the joins and extractions that traditionally causes delays. All of this is done in real time.
So let's talk about the finance side. What's the scenario there?
Let's say finance needs an urgent list of unpaid students for payments reminder by tomorrow morning. Traditional process, submit a request, wait for processing and validation, report gets delivered, and then the deadline for payment reminders if it's missed. And with the data agent, you can simply ask one prompt, get me the students with unpaid fees. It's instant, complete. You get a report with names, balances, contact info, and payment history. So finance can take immediate action.
Okay, so let's put some numbers on it. What kinds of improvements are we talking about?
There are three big metrics that I like to accentuate on. First is the response time. It's going to be under several seconds. If the query is not very complex, this could be few seconds. And if it's a little bit complex, let's say around 20-second response time. It's 100% self-service. You don't need anyone else to answer your queries. You can do it by yourself. And the third, you don't need any technical capabilities. You don't need any SQL to be written for you to extract the data.
Okay, so if you're ready to eliminate data delays, this is the answer.
Exactly.
That's great. So before we wrap up, let's talk about ontology, because this is what separates a useful agent from a guessing machine.
Correct. And I think we'll get back to this once we do our demo. So I'll quickly change my presentation. Let's do the demo first. Can you please confirm if you guys can see my screen?
Screen is visible.
Okay. So let's start with basic questions for now. Here we can see the data landscape first. We have simply included a lakehouse which has multiple tables. For instance, the advising plan. We have the advisors, the student ID, the session date, and the topic of what was used. By the way, is the font readable? Should I make it bigger?
Yeah, maybe a little bigger, Shikhar.
Is this better?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay. So we can have, we have data for advising sessions. We have data for attendance for each of the corresponding students. We also have courses, which department they're linked to, what's the name, what's the ID, enrollment table, which is a linking table between the students and the courses, which students opted for which courses, and finally the financials. So we get to see what is the tuition paid, what's the balance, what's the scholarship, and the last one is students' data. All their PII is stored here. Now think about this. If you're working in an organization, you would not keep all of this data all together within one data source. This is where ontology and graph comes in. Before we go there, I'll just show you how you can actually go and ask questions about this. So the first would be a simple prompt. How many students do we have? So this is a multi-step process that the data agent takes care of. We'll be seeing how it happens. So the first thing is it responded me with there are a total of 500 students. Definitely because this is mocked up data. This is not the live. So I created those many. The first step that it takes is it analyzed the lakehouse and it rewrote my prompt. I asked how many students do we have? It rewrote my prompt to write how many students are there in total. This rewriting is being done using the context. The next step is creating the query. It created select count star as total students from dbo.students. That's the schema name that we have within our lakehouse. So it knows what table to look for and what data do we have. Now you'll be saying like, Shikhar, this is pretty simple. How can you actually know whether something's it can work on complex things or not? So I would like to show you a complex scenario as well. This is my bank of prompts that I used before, and we'll use one of the same prompts.
Shikhar, before you go into taking a few more of those data agent demo, we have a few questions in the chat. Would you like to answer them?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Joyce has asked, how can a user validate the results from the agent? Like, how do we know the number is accurate?
Okay, the first thing is that the agent is reasoning with you. So when you see this response, right, you can actually see the query that it used. You can reason around this query and you can also validate it. First of all, if you run the query, you're going to get the same results for sure. That's uh, definitely going to be there. But you can actually see if there was a condition that was missed or not. Because I could simply say how many students we have under the age of 32. I think they'll be young. Let's put 25. So the agent will reason with you based on the query. So you can go and check whether that condition or specific need was catered in the query or not. That's how you would reason with it. So it gave me that you have 209 students. And when you go and see, this is how it came to the conclusion. So you can now see whether the correct column was used, whether the correct translation was done, because we are casting the date of birth as date. Is this casting being done correctly? Is the date difference what I desired? So these are the things that you can go and check and make sure that the agent is pretty accurate. And it's going to have repeatable results when it understands your data landscape. And to have more clarity and accurate answers, we need to work on the data model. We do not tweak with agent much because we're not capable of doing it. Why? The only thing that you can actually go and change here is this agent instruction. This could be a hard-coded system prompt that you use for any LLM. But the magic here is that this LLM that's backing up our data agent has been trained on the standard practices that are being used or advised by Microsoft for Fabric. So you work on the model, make it accurate, have proper facts, have proper dimensions, mention these descriptions, and then the data agent would work marvelously.
Shikhar, while you're here, like one more question that everyone might have. Is an end user who is using this agent going to see the sequel?
Okay, so now this depends on your architectural style, right? So for me, right now, all I'm getting as the response is this line that I see here. There are 209 students who are under the age of 25. Now, if I put the system prompt that also return the SQL query in the form of JSON, so you would have two fields in your responses. One would be the response that would say there are 209 students who are under the age of 25, and there would be another field that says the SQL where you can actually return the SQL, or you could simply work on the response. So it's based on you how you want to work with these agents, but by default, this is the response that you get.
So if I use a default agent, when I use it in a multi-agentic architecture, I'm not going to see any SQL or anything from this.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going through the chat if I can see any other questions.
Joyce, you are unmuted, so if you have any questions, any follow-up, please feel free to unmute and ask those questions.
Yeah, there's one more that just came in. How deep of insight can this data agent could provide?
It could go very deep. And again, it's available for you to ask questions. If you have a question that you feel is deep enough, let's just see how it responds. Meanwhile, I have a pretty complex query with myself. Let's see how it responds. So now I'm trying to see how does the enrollment trend look like? Are we growing? Is it flat? Or are we declining by major? This might seem like a simple answer, but it's not. We do not know the intricacies of what domains are there, what courses are there, how they're performing, what are the linking tables. I think this would be a good depiction of how deep can it go. Okay, so the time frame it's taking is 5 years, and it says that we don't have uh, for past 5 years, but I'll do it for 2 years. Let's see how that responds. But you can see how deep or how complex the queries are created. So it's actually creating aliases with enrollment years, subqueries within this, recent years, which is this query. So an alias is the enrollment years for this subquery, recent years for this subquery, enrollment counts for this subquery, and then rank counts, trend calculation, yearly counts, and then you do a select of all these aliases. You inner join multiple tables by year, you order it, and you also case it by increasing or decreasing, and then you finally evaluate what's the answer of this. So this is a pretty complex query for me to form. It would be difficult for any analyst without actually understanding how these tables are linked, what are the fields, what are the columns. So definitely you cannot get this in seconds or hours. It's going to take you longer time. I hope this gives you a better answer. Now let's say try this with 2 years. Let's see what it does. I'm not sure what it's gonna do, but since it did not find data, so it knows the context that what was the question that I asked before. It also knows what I'm trying to do. So, okay, I think there's something else wrong with it. So now my next debug action would be to debug the query, whether it's picking some wrong column or some wrong table. But if you would like to try any complex query, feel free to do so. You can just put it on the chat or unmute yourself and try it. Meanwhile, I'll show you some other query.
So Shikhar, you said that you can validate this query. How will you validate this query now? Now that you got an error message back from the agent, if you want to validate the SQL, how do you do this?
Okay, so if you see right now, it has a message that's given to you. Cannot perform an aggregate function on an expression containing an aggregate. So it's creating an aggregate on an aggregated column. So my way would be to see which column has an aggregation and then change it in the query. That's
Okay.
the way how you would debug. And when you want to run this, you could run it against your lake houses and see whether the query is right or not. And you can also give that change here. It's going to do the same. So now there's an interesting thing that I would like to show you guys is how many high risk students do we have? It says that there are no high risk students in the data. Why? Because it's checking something called status. Now the data agent is not sure whether high risk is a column, it's a status, or does it mean something differently? Now, why this is important is for us to understand how this single term, which is called high risk, could be different for each organization. For an organization like a big one, a big university that has several thousands of students, high risk could be, let's say, if the attendance is below 60%, if the grades are below 3, and if the tuition not paid, there's an outstanding balance for a student. For a smaller university, this threshold might be even higher. High risk could be attendance less than 80%, people who have score which is less than 3.5 GPA, and there should be some outstanding balance. Even few hundreds would be counted as high risk since the number of students are less. In that scenario, for us to understand what's high risk for an organization, it's difficult. I have to ask the business people. The same is applicable for AI agents and LLMs. I want to give them what's the actual meaning of high risk for your organization. And the way we do it is using ontology. So the data agent that I'm using right now, it's data agent with no ontology. So it does not understand my term when I say what is high risk students. But when we go to the data agent, which has access to my ontology, so you can see that it can feed on multiple data sources. You could plug in ontology where you can define each of the entities, what students, what's attendance, what are the actual columns. You can also give them business understanding through multiple layers like semantic model, ontology, graph, and the agent instructions. So now if I ask a question like that here, let's see how it responds.
So ontology provides more context to the data agents.
Correct. It's more like create understanding the business lingos and business jargons for your organization. So if let's assume you have a column which is named as TOC. All your pipelines are using the column TOC. Now, but for me, if I come and ask you guys, okay, what's TOC? I don't know. It could be theory of computation. It could be total overall compensation, or it could be something that you just say talk. Talk is a metric that I calculate. So understanding the actual meaning and definition of these jargons is something that we want to do.
Okay.
Shikhar, we have one more question. Um, do we need to have business definitions defined besides a semantic layer to get deep insights? How do we scale this at enterprise level?
I need to have business definitions defined besides a semantic layer to get deep insights, right? Okay, so there are multiple levels where you can actually define these things. The first is your semantic model, where you can give descriptions to each of your columns, your tables. The second one is ontology, where you define what those columns actually are. So if there's something called TOC, you could actually write the whole definition instead of using TOC. So you could write total overall compensation. So now the AI understands what that value is. You can also name it something like average of all the students so that it knows that it's an aggregated column. So it would not aggregate it again and have a SQL error in that. You can also define this within um, your agent instructions. I can go and manually write it in the prompt that this table is aggregation of all the students. So do not use it for further aggregation. So it's a complex blend of many multiple layers. And the final one would be graph. So graph would give you multi-domain linkups. Now let's imagine you have a semantic model which is working on your students' data. Or if you pick up an industry, let's stick with universities for now. A university would have students' data. So I would have a semantic model which is just created for students, a semantic model for the financials, and a semantic model for the courses data or the HR data. Now, if I want to marry all this data together, the students' data, the HR data, and the financials, these are not linked together. But for me to link these semantic models together, I can use graph. Graph would define how these multiple domains are interlinked to each other, what are the connections, what are the relationships between these tables, and how they can be joined. So when you blend graph, ontology, semantic model, and the agent instructions, you get a foolproof solution with the data agent. And remember, and please pay attention to the word data agent, because this will only respond on your data. It's only gonna make you talk to your data. If you want an agentic solution on top of it, you have to orchestrate it using other Copilot or AI Foundry agents, where you can place your guardrails like, okay, I don't want to expose my PII data. I don't want to expose my students' data somewhere. So it's gonna uh, address this by honoring the access and the roles that flows with Azure AD. So anyone who has signed in your teams or using AI Foundry agent, if he does not have access to that specific table, he would not get that response through AI Foundry as well. So this is how you can actually have guardrails on any explicit data that you don't want them to ask about, like SSN numbers, any picture, any document that's not accessible. So you can have all those controls sitting outside of Fabric. So data agent would just focus on data, and the guardrails orchestration would be taken care of in AI Foundry. So this is how you would do this at a scale for an enterprise. And we also have Terraform OpenTofu scripts where you can do these things through code. You don't have to necessarily go and make those descriptions in each of the semantic models, the graph, or the ontology. You can simply use our scripts. You can start working on them, and it will instantiate, configure, and have these artifacts ready within your workspace so that you can just go and start integrating them and making the final workflow. Any other questions? And just to show you guys how the ontology looks, you can create this ontology right from your semantic model. So it picks up the relationship between these tables just from the semantic model that you have defined. If not, you can come and manually do this. You can define the relationship of how these students are related to advisors through student advisor, how attendance is linked to students. You can also change your primary keys. You can identify those. You can also see what's the actual name of the column. You can edit this property name. You can have something else. This won't change the actual column within your tables, but it would just keep it in ontology. And that's it on this. So now let's just get back to the slides. And if you have any question, feel free to ask. If not, I'll resume with my slides.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's compare the ontology results because we want to see what separates a useful agent from a guessing machine.
Correct. This is critical. If you look at before and after, without ontology, you won't get response to what are high risk students, but with ontology, you get to understand what are the high risk students. So it's not just what these terms are. The agent knows what risk means, what effectiveness means, and the difference between how these things are calculated and combined. So the takeaway is that without ontology, you've got a SQL generator that guesses, but with ontology, you've got a domain expert that understands your business rules. That's the difference between a tool and a toy. With this, I conclude my session. But if you have any further questions or you feel that there's a scenario or something that you want to discuss and have more insights on, feel free to book a session with us. This should give you calendar link to book a meeting with Pallavi. That would be our representative for the team. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Post this, we have a quick break. Pallavi, you want to take it up?
Hi, Shikhar. Thank you so much. We'll be taking a short 5-minute break. During this, if any of our participants have any questions, please feel free to just raise a hand. I'll be able to unmute you, and then you can ask your questions straight to Shikhar. After this, we have a session which will be hosted by Asif Hussain. It's on enterprise level agents using Copilot Studio. We'll just take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll resume again. The QR code can be used to book a meeting with us. If you have any more questions that we can answer at depth, please feel free to scan it and so that you can book a session with us.
A question. If we did not properly catalog our data at ENT level, how would I overcome that challenge, assuming that's a challenge in this journey? So, if you don't have a proper catalog, you can always start building with one. We have Purview, which has a native integration with Fabric, which can help us speed this process. We can actually manually define those within the semantic models. The catalog could work on the same descriptions that you have created. So the way we would do it by automating some of that stuff and then manually checking on what these descriptions that have been generated are true or they need to be changed. I hope that answers your question. You're welcome.
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for staying with us throughout the first session. We'll be resuming in a few minutes. We have Asif Hussain who'll be talking about enterprise level agentic AI using Copilot Studio. Post this, we have a session on AI Foundry that'll be headed by Sarmad. We also have a workshop at the end of this. So please stay tuned. We'd love for all of you to be with us till the end.
So Pallavi, I think 5 minutes are up.
Yes,
Hello,
we
everyone.
can start off.
Thank you very much for staying. It was a good, informative session from the Fabric team. I think you understood the concept, like how your data can talk and how easily business can now interact with the data. But still, whatever you were seeing was within the Fabric Studio. So how the end user will eventually see this, that's what we will explore now, plus what else we can do with agentic AI. So this is something we saw in the beginning where data agents are created within Fabric. And now we will focus on the presentation part. And there are multiple ways of presenting this data and other agents. One of them is Copilot Studio. Sarmad will talk about Azure AI Foundry after me. So when we talk about Copilot, sometimes it's a little confusing that what exactly is Copilot, because there are lots of products, at least more than one product that is called Copilot. And one Copilot is what we use as M365 Copilot that comes out of the box, integrated with your Outlook, your Teams, and other Microsoft tools, SharePoint, such as. So you can talk with this M365 Copilot using the out-of-the-box tool and connect with your enterprise and Microsoft 365 tools. Plus, it can be used as a chat GPT, so it can search on the web and bring data for you. So that's the tool we pretty much every one of us is already using. And so this is the one that we are using out of the box. What we are talking about here is this Copilot Studio that lets us extend the functionality of Copilot to non-Microsoft tools and automations and lots of other things. And it can also consume the data agent that is made in Fabric. And once it is part of this Copilot Studio, it can be published on a number of applications, including Teams, SharePoint, public websites, mobile apps, Slack, and other chatting applications. So it can be on the tool where your user is already. And it becomes a lot easier to interact with data and actions when it is published within the tools that user is already using. Third here you can see is Azure AI Foundry. That is also a way to publish these agents and make these agents. So now let's talk about what's Copilot Studio. With Copilot Studio, we create agents that can interact with enterprise applications. You can see some logos here. And this Copilot Studio can also consume your data agent from Fabric. So when you bring your data agent and your connectivity with all these enterprise applications, your user can interact through this agent with your data as well as perform actions in all these applications. So it knows everything about your organization and it can do almost everything within your organization within the boundaries and guardrails, of course. So let's first see how we bring other agents such as data agent into Copilot Studio. So when we build Copilot within Copilot Studio, we have a capability of making a multi-agentic orchestration. So the agent that we are building can be only an orchestrator that has capability of connecting with other agents. These other agents could be created on Copilot Studio, Fabric, or Azure AI Foundry. So when you talk with this agent, this orchestrator agent has the capability to call the right subagent based on what it understands as the intention of the user is. And it's as simple as just clicking on this Microsoft Fabric and then connecting with the right Fabric agent, or connecting here, clicking on the Azure AI Foundry and connecting with the right Azure AI Foundry agent. It gives a list and you can just connect it with that. So your orchestrator agent gets the capabilities of these subagents too. So when we publish it like this, the data comes from Fabric, which collects from all your data sources. And then either Azure AI Foundry or Copilot Studio can be used to publish it with your channels like Teams, web portals, mobile apps, or through APIs. Another functionality that you get when you develop agents through Copilot Studio is the capability of making autonomous agents. So in general, we just think that a Copilot Studio agent is an agent through which you can interact as a chatbot and ask it to perform either some actions or ask for certain data. But you can use the same Copilot Studio to create agents that are autonomous in nature, that can be triggered based on changes in other systems. Let's suppose a new file drops in SharePoint can trigger an agent. A new email arrives to your Outlook can trigger an agent. A new file created on your file system can trigger an agent, or maybe a new entry created in your CRM can trigger an agent. So the possibilities are endless, and there are tons of connectors available within Copilot Studio to choose from, and you can make that as the trigger point to initiate your agent's functionality. And there, even for a single agent, there could be multiple trigger points. When we talk about agentic solutions, we generally just think it is a solution that on the fly decides what needs to be done, creates a strategy, and performs it. Yes, generally that's what the AI agent is. But in some cases, we don't need on the fly strategy making by an agent, because there are some processes where you have a defined flow already, and you just want this agent to follow that flow when needed. Let's suppose in a use case of new employee onboarding, there are set rules that your company has, and you know what systems the new resource will get access to, what new resources that new joinee would be allocated, and all these are followed each time a new resource is onboarded. So you don't want the agent to reevaluate and recreate the process every time. In such scenarios, we can build a structured flow that is triggered based on need. And that's also a capability of Copilot Studio, that you can do for certain actions, you can make deterministic flows. Copilot Studio also gives you capability to connect with MCP servers. So a broad range of applications can be connected, and a broad range of capabilities can be brought into a Copilot using this protocol. Now you can bring your own model also into Copilot Studio. There is a limited list of models, LLM models available within Copilot Studio. Plus, you can use any model that you have in Azure AI Foundry, even the fine-tuned models you have, and you can connect with that model into an agent that you're developing within Copilot Studio. So depending upon your need, each use case can have a different model that you want to use. Maybe because to have less credits consumed, or maybe to have more This is a recent functionality that is launched by Microsoft. It's called computer use. Now your Copilot Studio agent can spin up a VM. I think I was lost for
Yeah, just for a
few
few
seconds.
seconds, Asif. It's
Yeah.
fine. You can continue. Yeah.
Is my screen still visible?
Screen is visible. You can reshare if you want to, and your video is also visible.
All right. So all right. So I was talking about computer use. This is a new feature that is launched by Microsoft, and with this feature, your agent can spin up a VM on the fly and use that VM as a computer to operate and get something done. And that can be a really powerful tool when you don't have a predefined flow for your agent, as well as we don't have maybe the APIs to call certain functionality that your agent needs to perform. So let's see a small video to explore this feature.
In this video, we'll see how to use computer use, a feature in Copilot Studio that lets your agents interact with websites and applications, even if they don't have an API or connector. We will walk through a use case of automating the transfer of invoice information from one website into another portal where we need to register invoices. In Microsoft Copilot Studio, I've already created an agent that can do a few things related to invoices, like checking invoice status or answering questions about our invoice policy. Now we want this agent to also register invoices by copying information from one site to another. Since these websites don't have an API, we'll use computer use to handle the task. It works by taking instructions in natural language and using a virtual mouse and keyboard to do the job in a computer. Let's add the computer use tool. First, we need to connect to a machine where computer use will run. I've already set up a connection to a hosted machine, so we're ready to go. Next, we need to fill in three things. First, a name for the tool. Second, a short description so the agent knows when to use it. And third, the instructions. This is the most important part. This is where I explain what I want computer use to do. I just write what to do, just like I would tell someone how to perform this task. Once that is ready, I save the tool, and I can go ahead and test it. In this test view, we can see on the left the reasoning steps of computer use, and on the right, the actions performed on the machine. We can see how it navigates to different sites. Now it's filling out the form with the data coming from the PDF. It knows how to match each field correctly, and even adjusts things like the date format automatically. The test completed successfully. If needed, I could go back and adjust the instructions. But in this case, everything worked well. So let's go ahead and publish this agent. This agent will now run autonomously on a schedule because I've added a schedule trigger. At any time, I can go to the activity section of the agent in Copilot Studio to see the history of runs. If I click on a run, I can open the transcript view to review each of the steps taken by computer use, along with the corresponding screenshot of the actions performed. And this is computer use. The agents you build in Copilot Studio can now interact with websites and applications, and all it takes is providing instructions in natural language.
So now let's see how all these tools and features that we discussed can fit together in developing a solution. So first we need to figure out for our agent that what would be the trigger. So it could be maybe when an item is created in SharePoint, or when a new hire starts in the HR management system, or it could be a reoccurring as per schedule agent. It needs to find some instructions. Some of the instructions could be a system prompt, and some can come from the data it is triggered from. So based on that instruction, the agent plans that what it needs to perform, and it knows the tools and the connectors it has to interact with the applications. And then it can bring back the outcome, that whatever it performed, it can be a summary, it can be a notification, it can be details of what further the team has to perform manually. It could be anything in any of the channels it is connected with. So it can put the message in Slack, or it can create action items in ServiceNow, or it can just reply back to the person who sent an email that triggered this agent. So let's suppose, for instance, a new email arrives in your Outlook that triggers this agent. And the email says, I recently purchased a product from your company, but unfortunately it arrived broken. I would like to request a replacement. Could you please assist me with this? And this email, for instance, maybe had an image of the broken item customer received. The agent understands the context, analyzes the image of the broken item, sees the refund and replacement policies, and performs those actions into the systems it is connected with. And then replies back that the refund or the replacement has been generated and the case is ready to be closed. Or maybe it can send a notification for a human reviewer before actually performing this action. So this is an example that how end-to-end you can use these functionalities to perform actions and get things done for you. So now we are towards the end of the Copilot session. I have a demo that is an HRMS Copilot we recently delivered for one of our customer. And it goes in detail about some of the features this Copilot Studio-based HRMS agent has.
Redefine business processes with Copilot Studio. Create copilots that act as agents, working independently for you.
In this video, I'll walk you through a short demo of an HRMS Assist Copilot built using Microsoft Copilot. This solution was delivered for one of our enterprise customers, and what you'll see today is a demo version using sample data. The core idea remains the same, using Copilot Studio to embed intelligent conversational AI directly into your HR processes. On the left side of the screen, you'll see Microsoft Teams, where the HRMS Copilot is available to managers and employees. On the right, you're seeing a sample HRMS application interface. This could be Workday, SAP, SuccessFactors, Oracle Fusion, or even an open-source HRMS. The Copilot is HRMS agnostic and integrates through API calls, making it flexible across platforms. At the bottom, you'll see the database layer, purely to visualize how actions initiated through Copilot result in real-time updates in the HRMS system. Let's start with a common scenario. Timesheet submission. An employee submits a timesheet using the HRMS application, just like they normally would. As soon as the timesheet is submitted, a new record is created in the HRMS backend. The manager receives a real-time adaptive card notification in Microsoft Teams. This adaptive card allows the manager to approve or reject the timesheet directly without logging into the HRMS system. Once the manager takes action, you can immediately see the status updated in the system. Managers don't need to rely only on notifications. They can ask natural language questions like, "What are my pending timesheet requests?" The Copilot responds with a summary of all pending items. Managers can also take bulk actions, such as approve all timesheets submitted by Sophia, reject all remaining overtime timesheets. The Copilot understands intent, filters the data accordingly, and executes the required actions across the HRMS platform. The same experience applies to leave requests. When an employee submits a leave request, the manager receives an adaptive card in Teams. The leave can be approved or rejected directly from the card. Managers can also ask questions like, "What are my open leave requests? Show me pending leave requests for a specific employee. Approve all pending leave requests." All actions are instantly synchronized with the HRMS backend. Beyond approvals, the Copilot supports self-service and analytics. Employees can ask, "What is my leave balance? Give me a summary of leaves I can apply for." HR admins and leaders can ask organizational questions, such as average salary by department, location, or employment type. Employee count by department or geography, gender distribution across the workforce, top and low performers based on ratings, who is currently on leave, key HR KPI like headcount, salary averages, and performance trends. All insights are generated directly from data residing in the HRMS system. The HRMS Copilot also acts as a policy and knowledge assistant. You can ingest HR policy documents, FAQs, benefits guides, leave and reimbursement policies. Employees can then ask questions like, "How many leaves can I apply for in a year?" "How do I apply for reimbursement?" What is the parental leave policy?
This agent can also be configured to perform autonomous actions.
For example, here's employee onboarding use case, designed for the pre-joining phase, when the selected candidate has accepted the offer, but is not yet onboarded into Microsoft Teams or the corporate directory. At this stage, the user can only interact through email, and all onboarding activities are orchestrated automatically using Copilot Studio, Power Automate, and back-end system integrations. The onboarding journey begins the moment a candidate accepts the offer letter in the HRMS or recruitment system. This event triggers Copilot Studio to initiate a pre-joining onboarding workflow without requiring the employee to log into any internal system. The new hire receives a welcome email containing a personalized onboarding message, secure action links, a conversational onboarding assistant experience delivered via email. Through this email-based interaction, the Copilot guides the employee step by step. Based on the employee's role, location, and start date, the Copilot automatically initiates multiple back-end requests: laptop and equipment issue request, device type selection, Windows/Mac, accessories such as monitors or docking stations, shipping details for remote employees, desk and office space allocation, seat assignment for on-site or hybrid employees, office badge and facility access requests. Each of these requests is created automatically in ITSM or facility systems such as ServiceNow or Jira with zero manual HR intervention. Next, the Copilot orchestrates system access setup by raising approval-driven requests for ERP access, SAP, Oracle, Dynamics, or other enterprise systems, HRMS, and payroll access, email and collaboration account provisioning, role-based application entitlements. These requests are routed to the appropriate approvers and tracked centrally as part of the onboarding workflow. The onboarding Copilot also handles pre-day one learning and compliance tasks, including mandatory HR and compliance training, security, and data privacy courses, role-specific onboarding learning paths. Training assignments are created in the learning management system and linked back to the employee's onboarding checklist. Through secure email interactions, the Copilot prompts the employee to submit personal and tax information, upload required documents, acknowledge company policies, complete onboarding forms. All collected data is securely pushed back into the HRMS system. On the employee's official start date, the Entra ID account is activated. Teams access is enabled. The onboarding Copilot seamlessly transitions from email-based interaction to Microsoft Teams. From day one onward, the employee can continue interacting with the same Copilot for HR questions, policy guidance, leave and timesheet management, ongoing employee support. This onboarding approach ensures fully automated, event-driven onboarding, zero dependency on teams during the pre-joining phase, faster IT, ERP, and facilities readiness, reduced HR and IT manual effort. A consistent guided experience for new hires from offer acceptance to day one. This significantly reduces HR ticket volume and improves employee experience.
Put Copilot to work for you with Copilot Studio.
All right. So now let's take this survey where you can judge for these processes that if you build agent with these, how autonomous they can be. And when we say autonomous, there could be two aspects of it. Triggering a process autonomously and then executing it without having a human in the loop. So end-to-end automated, how end-to-end it could be autonomous. So if you scan this QR code, and we can have this quick activity to see. And there is no right answer to it. I mean, that your answer depends upon your organization or your industry's norm, or uh, the data you have, or the way you handle your data within your company. We got 6 people.
Folks, if you have any more questions for Asif, please feel free to drop them in the chat, or you could just raise your hand and I'll unmute you so you can ask it directly to Asif.
All right, I see a question from Josh that is it possible to connect Copilot Studio directly with Salesforce? Yes, it is possible. So there are connectors available through which you can connect. Plus, we can have API interfaces for any specific tasks also. So we have done it. I have a demo also. We can have a session if you want us to go deeper into this. Okay, we've got 6 responses. If I see, most people think invoice processing can be very autonomous. Some people think even human in the loop is not required. Okay. For IT service desk ticket triage, there's a mix. Some people think it's not supposed to be triggered autonomously. Okay.
We have a question from Sammy. He's asking about your experience with using Copilot with Excel files or Excel files with multiple tabs.
It works fine. I mean, even if you just upload an Excel file, it works. But for best results, if you vectorize it, searching through those files would be even easier. So there are ways to first consume it in through plugins or through an external program that works, that runs on schedule, maybe, to bring that as a vector. But it's all like, if you want to experiment with it, if you don't get the right results with just plainly uploading the Excel file, you can go for the other approach. All right, so contract, someone thinks it should not be autonomous, should always have a human in the loop. Makes sense. It can be autonomous, but yeah, putting a human in the loop is good. All right, we got some opinions. Okay, so that, let me get back to the. So this is a QR code you can scan to have a one-to-one session with a Copilot Studio expert. And we can discuss further any of your use case or issues. So
Folks,
Pallavi,
please feel free.
do we have a break after this, or Sarmad
I
is
think
coming up?
I think we can jump straight into it. If anyone has any questions that Asif can address, please feel free to drop them in the chat or just raise your hand and we can take it up right now. But Sarmad, if you're ready, let's just jump right into it.
All right. Let me
Thank you
know
so
if you
much,
guys can
Sarmad.
see my screen.
Your screen is visible.
Perfect. All right.
Oh, we do
I
have a question. I'm so sorry
no
to
worries.
interrupt you, Sarmad. From Roy. Do you have an example of company policy around use of Copilot AI?
I mean, it's you
I
want an
think
example of someone using Copilot or Copilot built on Copilot Studio with the in accordance with the company policy, right? Is that what you're asking?
I believe so.
So yeah, we have done a number of implementations with our customers. So definitely companies are allowing using agentic AI for use cases. And in order to keep it compliant as per company policy, we generally put guardrails and the availability of the data to any user is based on that particular user's own rights. So we ingest the data in a way that the Copilot understands who the user is and shows data accordingly. So there could be two types of data that it ingests. One is like maybe policy documents or HR general guidelines or any industry guideline, like maybe if you're talking about product catalogs or anything that is available to public, you can just put it right away. And then there is data that you do not want everyone to see in the same way. For that kind of data, we make it ingested into the Copilot Studio in a way that it has access level information also. So we have to be really smart in the way that the data is ingested for to remain compliant. And then of course the PIIs and all those things that you do not want to show to certain users, that is also there. You have to keep in mind that. Hope I answered your question.
Roy, you could unmute if you have any follow-up. But Lizette was asking, what kind of guardrails are we talking about here?
Yeah, this is Roy. My question was like an actual company policy that states you can only use AI with XYZ. You can use it to summarize or combine spreadsheets, things like that. But any major data pieces, like if we're pulling from our EMRs, our medical record system, or from our HR system, that has to be agents developed by the data services development team. You have and I like Sammy's question and Lizette's, like what kind of guardrails and best practices on AI governance and things like that.
So I think I can take this up.
Sure.
And I believe this is the best, these are the best questions for the transition point where you would realize why Microsoft even have, Microsoft Foundry. So as I explain the functionality and the features inside Foundry, I believe all of these questions would be addressed. And if not, you are happy to chime in at any time. All right. So
that sounds great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
All right. So first of all, thank you, Asif. Thank you everyone for joining in. My name is Sarmad. I am the AI practice lead at Royal Cyber. And today I'll be walking you through why, Microsoft even have AI Foundry, where you have already seen tools like Copilot, Copilot Studio, Fabric, where all your data lives. So think about this, that all that data in your warehouse can be used to talk, right? You create a data agent, and that data agent is able to give you responses. That agent is basically telling you what is going on in my different applications data, which is dumped into a warehouse. You are doing all sort of analytics on it, and it is bringing you reports by running SQL queries. But ever wondered, when you want to make an action, can the data agent take that step? Let's assume you got some report, and based on that report, now you want to do some escalation. The numbers are not coming fine, or you are seeing a dip in the trend. And then you want to escalate this issue to, let's assume, your senior management. That's where the actions come in. And now AI Foundry is the tool that provides you such capabilities, right? And then when we compare it with the Copilot, Copilot is very well vested inside your entire Microsoft, tenant. It talks very nice to the graph. You can bring in information from other resources as well and use that as the presentation layer. But then comes the question of producing an agent that is totally compliant with the organizational policies. And that would probably require you to do a lot of customizations. And again, that's where AI Foundry comes in. When you talk about governance, evaluating the AI systems, tracing the actions taken by the AI agent, that's where this AI Foundry comes very handy. So I'll be speaking on it, and again, a slide that has already been shown, and then it compares on the level of complexity of developing a solution to the kind of flexibility that it provides when you are thinking of enterprise agentic AI. So end users, of course, Microsoft 365 Copilot is available. It gives you general questions. It also talks to the personal data that you have in your Microsoft tenant. And then for makers, as it very well explained by Asif, Copilot Studio, it gives you a full experience where you can make integrations to third-party systems. You can bring in data, you can create workflows, and then have them surfaced as one of the bots in the teams or one of the bots connected to any UI through an API. But then comes Microsoft Foundry, which is highly oriented towards developing. Let's assume you want to create a solution. That solution should be talking to the agents that you have created outside Microsoft or using any other framework that is not with Microsoft. So you can utilize or leverage Microsoft Foundry over there. Now you want to train the models. Let's assume you are in a healthcare and the models that are coming out of the box does not understand the jargon of your industry very well. So this is the point where you would like to fine tune the large language model on your specific data, showing them pairs of how questions and responses pair together in your organization. You show that data, fine tune the model, deploy that in the Microsoft Foundry and serve it through an endpoint. And then it also comes to the point where you want to evaluate the system. So you can create evaluation pipelines. Okay, I have created an agent and the agent now has policy documents, but now I want to see like the responses that it is given are repeating. Either they are accurate, either they are grounded, or mere hallucinations from the large language model. So all of this is covered with the Microsoft Foundry. Okay. So the Foundry basically provides you five different services. First of all, it is models. You are not only bound to use models like OpenAI or the one coming from Anthropic, like Claude models, but you can have other models as well, which are available as open source models. You can use them, you can fine tune them, you can even fine tune the ones which are proprietary models like OpenAI GPT models or Anthropic models. These can also be fine tuned, and then it provides you an agent service. Agent service basically is again similar sort of orchestration that you would do with Copilot, but here you can have the entire code that is running on the backend, and that code can be integrated or deployed into any of your infrastructure that you're using today and be served on a UI that you would want to even expose to your customers, not only restricting it inside your 365 tenant. Then they introduced the term called IQ. IQ basically is a layer that contains all the knowledge and can empower agents.
Now, if I have to create an agent that is supposed to talk to Salesforce, that is supposed to talk to my HR system, and is supposed to create tickets in ServiceNow. So these are like multiple touch points. And before IQ, you would have to create multiple integrations, and not even creating those, but even maintaining them when you put the agent in production. With IQ, that's like a one layer that is connected to agent, and behind it, you are creating multiple integrations, which are pretty much available out of the box in the Microsoft Foundry as well as in the Copilot Studio. Then comes the tools. Now let's assume here we had a question around Microsoft Excel. So Excel, we understand that is something which is structured data. It is not simply some text that is that's where the large language models are super expert. So there's a tool called data analysis tool, or they call it code interpreter. That basically is going to take your Excel file, read it through Python code, and then execute it by writing queries or codes that would reach to the response that is to a question that is asked by the user. So tools are there to be connected, integrated, and it can be used at any point of time where the agent feels necessary. Finally, you had all your traditional machine learning stuff that was being in production. Now they have created Foundry as a complete umbrella wherein like all your AI and machine learning services are available. Then they moved beyond and created a control plane. Any agent that you are creating and is serving either your customer or your employees in the organization must be governed. You need to know how many interactions are happening with them, or if they are compliant with the guardrails, or if you have any governance policy over accessing data. Let's assume using Microsoft Purview, are these all compliant or no? So they created Agent 365 that is exactly same how you used to have admin 365 for managing all the human employees in there. So agent 365 basically makes an agent as an identity in your organization, so that everything is controlled, governed, and you already always have the visualization of and observability of what's going on with the agents in the organization. Here are some of the screenshots. I'm gonna walk you through the live Foundry demo too. Here you can see like the models are available not only from OpenAI or Anthropic, but there are many more open source models available. Then it talks to not just one specific framework or one specific model provider, but it connects with anything that you can use to create or develop agents open source. Or if you are using MCP, Model Context Protocol, or Agent to Agent Protocol by Google, or you are creating agents using LangChain, anything that you can develop outside or inside Microsoft technology stack can be integrated with Microsoft Foundry. Foundry IQ, I think we already discussed about it. This is like the knowledge layer where you bring in all the data and then gets the responses by letting the agent decide which information is accurate. If we look at this slide, so you have data that is in Microsoft Fabric. It is living inside the one lake and it is connected to the Foundry IQ. Then you also have some of the documents and some of the sites that are on your SharePoint. These are also connected to the Foundry IQ. And even then, you took a step and went beyond and allowed the agent to get information from specific websites. Let's assume you are doing a research on a product strategy. So you allowed it to do Google search or allowed it to go to Wikipedia or anything. So all of these became source for the AI agent, and then they are connected to the Microsoft Foundry IQ. Then whenever I ask a question, it basically uses a small language model over here, which does similarity search, brings all the information back, and then start doing evaluation at a very cheaper cost. So I'm not using a GPT 5.4 over here, which is going to go and do reasoning and cost me a lot on the tokens, rather a very small language model, which basically sees and evaluates which context is very, very relevant to the question being asked. And it passes that as context to the large language model, which rephrases it and provides to the agent, provides to the customer as like the final response by the agent. Then there are like a lot of features. It goes beyond to natural conversations over text, but rather you can have voice agents. You can use real-time models and talk to them. They're going to respond to you real time and even connect or bring information from the tools or your business platforms connected to it. And if you want to take a step more, you can even put on an avatar, and that avatar is basically going to talk to you. Then we talked about tools. Here, in terms of tools, you might have workflows already running on Azure Logic Apps, or you have other agents which are hosted in Azure or any other platform. Or you can have multi-agentic workflows created where you could have cyclic, you could have symmetric, asymmetric, or sequential workflows where one agent hands off something to another agent and then the final response goes back to the end user. Or it could be a background job with multi-agentic workflow that is going on. Then you have built-in tools. Then you have model context protocol to bring in data from multiple data points. It has memory, which kind of understands the organizational knowledge. It kind of sees how what kind of interactions are happening between the agents and the users, and then creates an element of personalization. There is a possibility of doing one-click deployment if you don't want to utilize the code version of it. Any agent that you are interacting to becomes an Entra ID, which is like it is an identity in your organization. Finally, you're going to get all sort of observability and have control using the guardrails. Again, this covers the entire landscape. Foundry can talk to the fabric. It talk to the work IQ in your Copilot. It talk to the one lake. You can have web, SharePoint, blob, search index, context protocol, and add knowledge by bringing information from anywhere in any format. You can even create workflows. Workflows are like, let's assume I have an agent that is exposed to my employees, but the employees are not allowed to put in PII data. Let's assume credit cards or any other personal information. So I can create a workflow which basically checks anything that is going to the agent must be redacted. If they are putting in their SSNs, if they are putting in any personal information, that must be redacted before it reaches to the large language model. And then there is this traceability. Now I have an agent which is supposed to make sure that the data coming to it is masked, and then it has to make an API call to put some, content into my HR system, or it has to talk to my knowledge documents. So you have entire traceability, which basically is showing you each step that an agent is taking to bring the right answer to the end user. So you are sure that the responses that are coming out are not mere hallucinations. They are not just something cooked up by the large language model itself, but it actually made a tool call and got the knowledge from my knowledge articles and then rephrase that and produce to the end user. All right, now I have a demo and I'll be sharing my, okay, it's available here. If you guys have any questions here before I jump into the Foundry demo.
So we do have something from Lizette in that group chat. If you want, you can read it out. Lizette, you're also, please feel free to unmute, and if you have any more thoughts on this, you could share. Anyone from our panel could answer this.
It's a long one, just reading.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine. We really do appreciate these questions. So if anyone else in the attendees has any more questions, please feel free to drop them.
So I think here the question basically points out the risks that you are going to incur if you are giving full autonomy to the AI or the large language models and taking and making decisions. So these I'm 100% with you that there are risks. Of course, when you leave something out to AI and then you connect it to different data platforms where it can interact, bring information, and give responses, there could be risks. And there are even techniques that are being used today. For example, you would have heard about jailbreak, you would have heard about prompt injection. These are being used by, as like malpractices to uh, break the instructions or the guardrails that you have applied there. So, but with like Microsoft, I'm going to show you like there are certain tools which can actually be used to redact data, which can actually be used to block the input requests containing misinformation or the output that is generated by the large language model containing any misinformation. And then you can even have alerts set up on it. The founder is going to give you the entire observability of how many times um, a certain guardrail has been triggered, or even you can customize that guardrail to only monitor and not even block, or if you want to block, it can entirely block as well. So the idea is to we all want to use the AI, but it should be used in a very responsible way. And Microsoft is kind of providing such kind of tools and platforms that can ensure that we can safely and cautiously take agents to production. I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, I'm going to show you the guardrails, how they are
So
applied. Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible, Lizzie.
Okay, great. Thank you. The reason why I'm asking this question is because I think ever since the Internet of Things happened and everything moved digitally, we have been desensitized to breaches, right? Every day there is a new breach, and every day millions and billions of information is being exposed and nothing happens. And the companies that are causing these issues, or they are making stupid decisions like leaving things without passwords, they don't really get any repercussion. The only thing they get is a fine for a couple of $1 million, and we're talking billions of dollars in companies. So there's really nothing really happening that is going to change things. So my question is, what are you recommending to clients about these situations? Because every day we're seeing breaches, every day we're seeing more things happen, and there is no regulations. You guys are in a company or in an industry that is a disruptor and is not being regulated appropriately. So as such, I would love to know from you guys what it is that you're telling people that can potentially destroy companies if something is breached, if any of this confidential data, client data, specific financial data gets breached and all of a sudden is on some dark web somewhere, for the greatest bidder.
I see. And thank you so much for explaining the question. I think first of all, it has to be analyzed that the data, that you define the sensitivity of the data. If it's like super PII, you would never want any large language model to use it. You would even want like all the employees in the organization to work on it. They're like only specific people who are going to work and deal with that data. So it comes through the business, right? Of course, we are advising that you leverage AI, but then there is this business perspective too, that okay, I really want to take that risk or no? Because everything that you are interacting with AI is eventually going to the cloud. We have been with some healthcare customers where they do not even want to put data on cloud. So there has to be some assessment done with the business and the technical team, and then we could see like if AI enablement is possible on that data or no. But then if you are ready to put that in place, then there are like best cloud practices that you can apply, which which is I'm gonna go a bit technical, but that is like you make sure that everything stays in your private networking. You make sure that everything is authenticated with your IDP. You defined role-based access. You defined row control access. So there are like different technical ways to ensure that the data doesn't, uh, leaks or breaches. And then there are like third-party security assessments that can be done to evaluate, the overall health of security health of your solution, whatever you are placing. With AI, there are some possibilities that you can do with guardrails that you can put in place on the input that is being given by the user and the output that the large language model is generating. And if anything is bad, that can get triggered or that can be blocked. These are some of the ways to guardrail your application which is using your data. But again, I think majority of it is about the business decision, either they want to go with it or not. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So coming back to the demo, this is how the Foundry UI looks like. It is part of the Azure Cloud Services by Microsoft. And then inside that, you can see you have a Discover tab, which is going to provide you all different kind of models that are available today. And even if you want to do a fine tuning of a specific model, that can be done over here. Or if you want to deploy a fine-tuned version, already fine-tuned version of the model, that can also happen over there. And then moving forward, here is the build phase of it. So build phase basically allows you to create an agent. For example, I have an agent created over here. And this agent basically is one that I quickly orchestrated that is going to talk to the leave and the leave policy and some agreement policy of Royal Cyber. And here I have provided it with some instructions. I can decide which model I have to use in order for the model to give me responses. And then I have provided it some information. So I uploaded these files and these are now ragged or indexed in form of vectors inside my agent. And then you have options to add knowledge. If there is any more knowledge, I can connect to Foundry IQ. There is an option to do memory integration, which is like it is going to introduce personalization element. It is going to see how people are interacting to it so that it remembers those interactions and next time uh, it add those elements whenever it is generating the response. And then some guardrails that you can apply over here. By default, Microsoft provides its own version, and that is the one which is integrated right now. Later on, I'll show you like how you create guardrails in it. So here, you can go and ask questions to it. It could either be in the form of chat, or it could be in the form of voice agents as well. So it also provides citations to what document it talked to, and then you can see that you have YAML file as well as the entire code of their SDK that you can use in your own custom application to integrate and interact with that agent, right? Then comes traces. Traces are basically the entire trace of the steps that it took to give you the response. So I ask a question, and in that it generated a response by making a file search tool call, and it made a tool call and brought the information back. So here I'm like 100% that it used one of the files to give the response rather than just responding on its own. So this is how you can do traceability. Then, of course, there is monitoring. Monitoring can be done in order to tell you what are your operational metrics like cost or the number of tokens that are being used. If you have set up evaluation, like this should be the response of this question. These are like evaluations that you can set up. And if you have created one, you can integrate it here and the agent's response would be evaluated on every question, or there could be a scheduled evaluation as well, right? Right now, I haven't integrated one over here, but here I'm gonna show you how you create such evaluations. Okay, so let's see how you create one. So creating the evaluation, first you have to decide either it is going to be applied on an agent, or it is going to be applied on an model, or it is going to be applied on a data set. So I have a data set available over here that I can use. It has some pre-populated questions on the policies of Royal Cyber, PTO, or leaves. And then when I click next, it basically asks you, do you want to use a large language model as a judge? Yes, I can. So if you want to be very, very, if you're very critical about evaluating the responses, you can have a better model, a reasoning model. But for now, I'm going to use GPT 4.1. Then you map different fields. So query, which is like the question being asked, and then you can decide the response, you can decide context, there is ground truth to it, which is the data that is living inside your policy document. Then if there are any tools attached to it to bring information, that can be all applied and defined over here. Then you create evaluators. Here you can go and create evaluators and decide like where on which criteria do you want to evaluate it on. You want to evaluate on intent resolution, either the agent was able to resolve the intent clearly or no, if you are using multi-agentic system. There are like different metrics that can be used to evaluate agents on quality. So Blue score, coherence, fluency, F1 scores, these are like all available over here. And then you may want to evaluate them on safety, where you have code vulnerability evaluators, hate and fairness, protected material, sexual content, violence, all these can be applied so that the model is getting evaluated. So these evaluations are going to be produced in the form of reports after every interaction. Then you can even go beyond and apply guardrails. So these are like the guardrails which are already created as like the default guardrails by Microsoft, but you can create your own too. When creating your own, you can decide what kind of risk are you going to control against. So here you have some categories like jailbreak, you have prompt injection, you have sensitivity, sensitive data leakage, then there is task adherence. Other than that, there is like content safety, which is on hate, sexual crime, sexual self-harm, violence, block list, whatever you select can be managed on the inputs by the user as well as on the outputs generated by the AI. And then you can even define severity level, how hard you wanna, how restrictive you wanna go on let's assume hate over here. So I can have like a highest blocking. Then it is going to intervene whenever a user is providing an input. I can even select tool call whenever it is making a tool call by passing some context and whenever a tool responds. And then final rephrase answer goes back to the user. If anything that is going back bad or it is getting caught, it is going to be blocked. There are like two ways. You can actually go and block the entire request, or if you want, you can just create a notification or an alert on it. Then once I have selected the criteria, I can select the agents. If I want to scope this guardrail on an agent, or if I want to scope this on a specific model, any agent that is using that model would have to go through this specific guardrail. Once done, you just give it a name, and then this is applied to the selected agents and the selected models. So this is how basically you can use guardrails to make sure that it is a compliant production agentic system. And here I'm just showing the ones which are like out of the box, but you can go and create your own guardrails as well. For example, in Royal Cyber, we don't want to talk about company X, so I can have all the keywords and use all those keywords again, which contains the company X word or anything related to that company, and create my own guardrail. So anytime somebody talks to an agent in my organization containing a word company X, it is going to be blocked. So this is how you can protect agents. You can make sure that there is a responsible use of AI in your organization. Lastly, I want to go back to the agent that was created. I want to show you the feature which basically enables voice mode, and then we already have an avatar set up on this. Let me collapse this one. Here you can provide it a display name, you can provide it some description, which is like you are branding it. So you brand it as per your organization. You can give it some starter prompts as well, speech input, where you can have a pre-selected language, or it can automatically detect the language as well. In advanced setup, this is like technical stuff, but again, you can have a voice activity detection VD system. I'm using Azure Semantic right now. Then speech output, you have different versions. You can try whichever you want to use. Right now, I'm using the default one with EverDragon. Then interim responses, whenever it is making a tool call, it is going to tell you, okay, let me check for these things, rather than just going blank. So I believe it's ready. And I mean, in this interaction, if you guys think you have any question that you would like to ask to this avatar AI agent, post that in chat. Otherwise, I'll just go with a common conversation.
Welcome. How can I assist you today with the Royal Cyber policies? If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask.
Can you tell me about the paid time off policy at Royal Cyber?
Let me take a quick look. Royal Server's paid time off policy includes provisions for various types of leave. 1. Annual leave, AL. 12 days of paid leave in the initial year, increasing to 15 days after 3 years, 17 days after 6 years, and 20
So how
days
do I
after
apply
8
for
years
this?
of service. A maximum of 5 days can be taken at once. Up to 5 days can be carried over to the next year. 2. Sick leave,
How do I
SL.
apply for them?
One moment. To apply for paid time off at Royal Server, follow these steps. 1. Advance application. Submit your leave application at least 3 days in advance to your reporting manager for approval. 2. Emergency leave. For unforeseen situations, inform your immediate supervisor or their supervisor as soon as possible.
All right,
Uh,
so this was just to give you guys an idea like how quickly you can surface an agent, and you can make sure that all the guardrails, policies are applied to an agent. It is properly governed and can be put into production really quickly by just clicking the publish. By publishing it, it's gonna go into Teams and Microsoft 365 Copilot app. If you guys have any question around it, otherwise I'll hand it over to Pallavi.
I actually did have a question for the agent, but
Yep.
it's fine. Um, we'll take 2 minutes here. If anyone has any more questions that Sarmat can address, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll take a 5-minute break in between. Sarmat's QR code is also present on the screen if you want to book a one-on-one session with him, just to talk further about your use cases that you had in mind. Please feel free to scan the QR code to book a session with him. And in the meantime, we do have him here. So if you have any questions in mind right now, you can also drop them in the chat. We'll take a 5-minute break. Post this session, we have Jazil, who will give a hands-on workshop on an in-house solution that's called Mind Platform. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us present here just to get hands-on and see what we've built and play around with it by yourself. So please do stick around to have a look at that as well. If there are no more questions, Jazil, I think if you're ready, you can start sharing your screen.
Yeah, sure thing. So
Thank you, Sarma. Thank you for your time.
I think we can start like in 1-2 minutes, but
Yeah.
I'm like dropping a link in the chat and I just want you guys to write and open it and just try to access the platform. And then we will start from there. Once you click on this link, you will land on this page. And now like you can use these credentials and this URL to log in.
The workshop link is present in the chat, so if anyone's looking for it, please feel free to click on it. Jazil, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. So, hi everyone. My name is Jazil, and I'm here like currently working as a senior AI engineer. So I do a lot of data and AI with different clients, and then we also have this in-house platform available where we are managing it, and you can create AI agents there for your company. So we will be like walking through all the steps on all the functionality and capabilities of our platform. And you can also play around as well if you have a specific use case to build. I think I'll give like 1 more minute for everyone to just copy this link, open it, and then we can start right away. And if you have any questions, just drop it in the chat or just speak up.
Just as a side note, we do have incentives for people who are present with us throughout the event. So we'd love for you to be present with us and just have a look at this solution as well. But Jasil, I think you can kickstart
We can
the
start?
session.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
let's
So, all right. So basically our agenda for today is like we will be creating AI agents. And first we will start from simple, create a simple AI agent which can just answer from prompt. Then we can add some knowledge, internal company documents, or can connect to some drive where the agent can access your files and answer from there. And then the next thing is like we will also improve the agent by configuring an action as well. So we have like 2000 plus connectors available that you can configure your agents. And lastly, we will also create an orchestration agent as well. So without further delay, let's get started. So I hope you guys can like actually go in, sign in here, like, and then from this website, we have like all the things available. So first step is let's go to the platform itself. So when you log in to the platform, like you will land here, which is our home screen. And here, like you can see, we have an agent marketplace, and then we can also create an agent. And in the agent marketplace, you would have like all available agents you have. Right now, we have two categories, business and technology. So to create an agent, which is our first step, which is like this simple agent, we will first go here and click create new agent. And then we have an option of a simple AI agent or an orchestration agent. So for now, we will just go with the AI agent. Click continue. And now we are like in the agent profile screens, and let me zoom in so you guys can also read easily. Okay, so basically we have some profile information of our agent. What's the name of the agent? What's the type of the agent? And then what's the prompt and conversation starters. So here, like if you go back in the workflow in the workshop website, you can actually see like what we expect you to do. So here, like you can just create like a IT support expert, and don't forget to write your name as well. Because if you create like multiple agents with the same name, it's very difficult to find yours. And then you can enter like the description, category, and the prompt as well. Once you fill all of these things, so here, like, let me do it in front of you. So let's do IT support expert. I can write my name.
Someone asked a question if they are being asked to log in. In order to log in, I think you just have to
Yeah, you just have to like use the credentials
create.
here. So just use these two credentials. This is the user, this is the password.
Are you
Once
able to
you,
copy paste them and just drop them in the,
yeah, sure.
yeah.
Okay, so we go back while for creating our agent. So I'll paste the description. Oh, wait. This is my agent description, which will appear on the play card and can guide users on what this agent actually is and can do. And then we can select technology as category, and this is a behavior prompt. It is basically an IT support specialist where we are asking the agent to actually answer all the IT related issues of our customers or could be employees. Once that is done, you will have some options to do a conversation starters. These are basically if someone is interacting with your agent for the first time, so they need to understand like what type of questions can I ask and the agent can answer them. So I can just quickly copy paste these as well. And the question, if you see, my laptop Wi-Fi is not working, how do I reset my password? How do I connect to VPN? All of these are related to IT questions, and all the IT teams in the company receive these kind of questions thousands of times. So once I fill each and everything, this is only the profile section. I can just hit create agent. Once I do it, my agent is created. You can see the success message here. And one more important step is if I want this agent to be published in agent marketplace, I'll like navigate on publish and trigger sections. And here, like I have few options on where I want to publish this agent. So I can just toggle this agent marketplace publishing option as enabled and save it. Once that is done, so I can actually go back and interact with my agents. So this was this is the agent which I just created in front of you. So here, like I can just click on the play card, and now this is the chat conversation screen. And here, if you see, we have all the options of conversation starters on like what kind of questions can we ask this agent. So let's say I ask like I can't connect to the VPNs. Can you help? So in that case, the agent would answer from its LLM memory. It's a generic agent. It's not actually grounded in the internal company policy documents. So it's just answering from memory. So that was like the first step of just creating an AI agent based on just prompt. So, but that's very simple and basic use case. We want our agent to be more advanced by answering internally from internal company properties. Yes, this is Royal Cyber's proprietary platform, and we share it like through like different enterprise, and we have some pre-built agents available as well, and we also can build more agents on top of it as well for some different use cases. Okay, so I think I'll just give like a 30-second break for people to actually complete step 1, and then we will go with the step 2 of adding the knowledge base. Behind the scenes, it's just like mainly Azure AI Foundry running, but Azure AI Foundry interface is slightly complicated for the end level users. So we have like a more easier version, and then we have some more advanced functionalities as well about token usage and like enterprise level security and tracking everything. But all this platform is actually sitting in Azure, and for the security as well, we also deploy it on the client's cloud as well. So all the data, everything you are doing and interacting with it stays within your own cloud, and it's not coming to Royal Cyber or someone else. Yeah, sure. So I was saying like this whole platform, we can deploy it in your own cloud. If you have a Azure subscription, your own personal or your own company cloud, all this platform can be enabled there. And the benefit for that is like all the data stays within your own environment. The data doesn't go anywhere else.
So this is Roy. I asked you to repeat that. I appreciate it. This is actually built in. These are some pre-built agents and some of your own agent marketplace that is kind of a step-by-step to build some AI agents to assist with daily workflows and things like that, correct?
Yes.
And we could deploy this within our 365 portal?
So this platform, like you can deploy it, but that these agents, you can expose it in the M365.
But
This
we would
whole
have
plat
to have, we would have to purchase this Mind platform.
yes.
And this is more of an intuitive step-by-step agent building tool.
Yeah, it's kind of a AI solution for your enterprise. So let's say if you want an AI enterprise level solution where like different teams are using AI agents, they are maintaining it and they are exposing it to customers, to their internal employees or something. So in that case, like this whole platform is can be available and your whole AI platform policy can be enabled through this whole platform. For example, universities. So universities have wants to create AI agents for like students, faculty, professors, admin, IT support. So they are like going with different vendors. Every vendor has some different limitations or like they are sometimes SaaS. So in that case, the CIOs or like a CIO actually like deploy this whole platform on their university on the whole university and then they can actually all the departments students everyone is actually using this platform to interact and also building and maintaining agent depending on their use case.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
and
for
for
your
a
question, Roy. Good. Go ahead, Jason.
yeah, so in this workshop, basically what I'm trying to do, we will create an IT agent and then we will also create an HR agent. Both of these can be maintained by their respective departments. And then like we can have an orchestration agent at top, which can your employee would just come in and ask anything related to IT or HR, and that can solve like most of the repetitive tasks of both these departments, where they get like thousands of emails like what's the about the problem about IT or HR. So moving forward, so like, that's like a simple example. Let's do some more advanced capabilities. So first we add like an internal knowledge base where I want that agent to be grounded in our company information. So in that case, I'll again go back to my agent, which I just created. Here are the three dots. I can go to edit agent screen and I landed back on this editor as well. So I already pre-filled all of this information, but I now want to ground my agent with some internal company policy documents. So here, if I have an IT agent, I can upload like FAQ document, or I can even like scrape my website as well if I have some information publicly available, or can connect with any of my drives. So for example, in this case, like we can just upload a custom IT policy file, which is already available on the workshop link. So you can just download, or if you have your own as well, you can use that as well. Once I click this, I can just upload this, and now this file is being added in the agent knowledge base. So the next time if I'm asking something relevant to this document, the agent would actually answer from this document, and it will also list is as a source as well. So once that is done, I think I can go back and test this agent again. I again asked the same question about the VPN policy, and now this time the agent would actually answer from my internal policy document. But that's not something which that's also like very beneficial, but basically I also want my agent to perform some actions. So in that case, like we will move forward with a third module, which is an action agent. Actions are basically, it's not just using an agent to answer some questions. We want our agent to perform some action as well. It could be sending an email, it could be creating a ticket, and it could be anything. I'll show you around like all the 2000 different connectors available. Each of them have their own actions.
There's a question in the chat, Jazil.
No,
If
so
it's going,
it depends
yeah.
like how you have like prompted your agent. If I have prompted my agent not to answer outside any IT policy or outside our internal company documents, it will always do like this.
I hope
Yeah,
they
it won't.
understand.
Yeah, it depends on your. It won't answer like. So it depends like on your use case. Okay, so once I have done this, let's go back. Okay, let's go back. Pallavi, if you have any question, just like speak to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next module was we want to create an action agent. So for that, like we again go to the edit screen of a created agent, and there inside of knowledge base, which we covered, and we uploaded a file, we can go to tool sections, and here like you can configure your agent to perform some actions. Few are like basic thing like web search, you go search the web and answer from there. But if you want to ground your agent with just internal company policy documents, I have like disabled it. And here is most of the magic is happening. So in the action library, I have like different connectors available. So we have like almost 2000 different connectors available that you can use. And it could be IT related, it could be healthcare, it could be any kind of like platform which you are using. So just to give a simple example, let's say if I need to configure a Gmail. So I want my agent not to just answer on my chat window, but also send a email as well. So in that case, I can just click like this Gmail, and here like I can do like connect to my Gmail account. And once that is done, like it will just ask you to authorize and approve. Once that is done, so basically this is my email account. And here like I can configure some actions. So in this use case, I want my agent to send an email as well. So I will just click on this. And once that is done, I can leave them as blank, and my AI agent can automatically fill this based on your conversation, and I can click deploy action. So that's like how easy it is to configure my agent to perform some action. So I have already created one agent before, so I don't want my email to be like used by multiple agents, but I will like show the demo there. But once you do that, like your email trigger would get configured here. So if I really want to test it, I'll go back again here. And then basically I just pick my agent which I need, which is this one, IT support expert. And I can again ask the same question. My VPN is not working. But this time I just don't want him to answer. I want it to actually send it as an email as well to somewhere. So in that case, I can just say, can you send it as an send this to email to jadil@cyber.com. Now what this agent would do, this agent knows like what type of how to draft an email, how to send it. So it will just execute this action, and it just asks me some further clarification. So I can just say email body just auto fill is on my earlier
So
message.
there's a question in the chat.
Mhm.
Lizette was asking if there's a reason why you didn't add your company email address. Instead, you added your Gmail address.
Sorry, can you repeat again?
Lizette was asking if there's a reason you're connecting to your Gmail address instead of your company email.
Yeah, it could be anything. If I
And
go
it could
back
be pretty
here,
much anything, yeah.
yeah, if I go back here, let's say I basically I don't want it to actually
Yeah.
use my work email, but if I need to do it, like I'll again go to tools. So we use Outlook. So here, like Outlook email, I will just come here and configure again the send email. I'll click on configure, and again the pop-up would open. It will ask me to log in and authorize. And in a similar fashion, inside of Gmail, now my Outlook email would get configured. And then I can do exactly the same thing what I was showing you earlier.
Awesome. We have one more question. If you could show where you would ground your agent to not go outside of the purview.
Yeah, sure. So here, like in the knowledge, first, like in the profile, like if you see my prompt, I have only asked it to you only handle IT related questions. So if I'm asking anything irrelevant, it won't answer it. The second thing is like in this knowledge base, I can actually add the related policy documents. So that's like how I'm actually grounding my agent, not to answer anything irrelevant and only answer it from the internal documents. So we have like a good example could be universities, thousands of students who wants to enroll in the universities ask on the email like what's the eligibility criteria, what's the deadline of the program, or like any all of these questions, and then they have to all most of the information is already available on the website, but like it's too much in detail that people just ask right away to the admissions department about these things. And what a use case would be, AI agent is actually a web page crawler and also some internal documents about the deadline, eligibility, scholarships, and everything. And then it is actually creating a draft for the admission team by checking the ask by receiving an email and then answering from the internal documents as well. So this way, like if you are like replying to thousands of emails, so now your almost 90% of the work is saved. So once that is done, so then basically we started from a simple agent and then we added a internal policy document and grounded our agent. Then in the last step, we actually configure an action to our agent to actually send an email as well. It could be anything. And then let's say we created this one agent called IT related, but now we have a HR agent available as well. And now I need to create an orchestration agent which can be connected to these sub agents, which are IT and HR. So in that case, like we will move to our module 4 and the steps would be very similar. We will create a new agent and this time we will select the type as orchestration and then we can just like copy paste this name description and the prompt as well. So I have already created one earlier, so I can just go over that, but you guys, you can like create from scratch. So let me open my orchestration agent, which is, where is my name? Oh, this is the one. Yeah. And you can also see the tag called orchestration as well, which is telling you the type of the agent. But if you are like starting from scratch, again, click on create new agent and then click on orchestration agent. Once that is done, click continue. And then like here, like you would have to again pre-fill all the details about the name and then the prompt as well. So in this case, this is how the agent would look like. I have filled a name, a central support agent that can handle both IT and HR questions. Category could be business, and then basically in the prompt, I am asking the agent to route to the relevant agent based on the question. Once that is done, then how do we connect our agents? So if you go in the connected agent tab of the orchestration agent, you would see like all the available agents you have to chat. And here, like I can connect my agent, I can just click on this. So it will get connected. So for now, like I have already connected my like HR help desk. You can also use the same agent which I created for HR, which has some HR related documents available. So whatever your IT agent, you can connect that one and this HR help desk. Once that is done, you click next. And now like in the configure handover screens, you have like two options available, IT support and the other one is this one. Let me connect again. Give me a sec. Okay, I think let me do it from scratch. Maybe someone edited this agent, but this is like how this would work. IT support expert, and then this should be HR agent. And here, like I can configure the handover name and some brief description on when I want my orchestrator agent to transfer my request. So here I just mentioned like anything IT related you can transfer to this agent, and anything HR related you can transfer to this HR agent. Once that is done, again in the publish section, enable it to be published in agent marketplace. And once we have done this, so basically we go back and chat with this agent. Now you see, like I asked like a question related to IT, and it is like transferring my request to the IT support agent. And then I can also ask some HR related question like what is the leave policy? Now it's calling the HR help desk agent, because that was my one of the sub agents, and getting the response from it. So now I have like this HR agent actually replying related to HR with my internal company document. So this is like how easy it is to create an orchestration agent. And if you can think from some use case, how much powerful our agents are becoming. Like we have some sub agents, every agent has their own personal knowledge base, and they can also have their actions available. And then we can also connect all of these agents with an orchestration agent. So your use case, very complicated use case, is now achievable through like a very easier interface. And then once that is done, if you have any kind of questions, please feel free to ask me before we move to the last section, which is the trigger agent. Now, triggers are basically, I don't want my agent where like I am actually signing in and then interacting and chatting with my agent, and then the agent is doing something. I want my agent to work in the background autonomously. So if an email is being received by your like help desk email or support email, thousands of emails are being received. So I want my agent to actually get that email and respond it right away. Don't wait for me to actually respond or like type the same email in the chat to do something. So that's like how the triggers happen. So let's go back and configure a trigger as well, which is basically, and also like this would become live, so it will start responding to whichever email you are receiving. So just to be make sure like if you don't have any dummy account or something, so I'll like request to just create a dummy account, or like don't configure this step for your agent.
Jazul, we have a question in the chat. If there are any tools that we need to host as part of agent doing its job, or are we hosting them in our MCP?
Are there any tools that we need to host as part of the... So we are like again hosting, this is like in the backend running on Azure AI Foundry. MCP is just like a connection to do something. It could be your own MCP deployed in your own environment. It could be some public or some external. So you can also connect your agent to some external MCP server to perform some action. But this whole agent, all the infrastructure and everything is like on Azure.
I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for your question. Jazul, you can continue.
Okay, so the last thing I was mentioning are the trigger part. So again, if you go to publish and triggers, so you have like multiple things. You don't want your agent to just chat through like a conversation window. Maybe you can use it through an API access in your apps, in your website where you can deploy it through like a chat widget, or you can also deploy some action. So again, we have this action library you have a lot of different actions available. Could be a new Google Sheet is being created, it is being updated. So that event results in your agent to do something. So for again, like a simple use case, again, it would be a Gmail one, which we were following. When a new email is received, I can configure this. So every time in my Gmail, a new email is being received, my agent would start working in the backend. It will get this email, and then based on the prompt, if it is like IT or HL, it will transfer it, and then it will also send an email back as well. So that's like how easy it is to configure a very advanced agent in this platform. So I have already configured this, which is you can see this, but if you want to configure from scratch, again, it's the same step. You would have to select an action and then it will ask you to log in and open a pop-up screen to authorize. And once this is done, so basically the next time if I receive an email on this Gmail account, this agent would get triggered, and then that after triggering, this agent would just reply, create a draft or send a reply email, depending on like how you have configured it. So this was kind of the last part of our module where like we started from a very simple agent, we grounded it with our internal policy document, then we enabled our agent to do some action. And lastly, we also enabled our agent to do some work from the background when an event happens. And then we also created an orchestration agent as well. Few of the other things which I can show you how easy it is to use the platform and basically what other capabilities are available. So you also have some traceability and analytics available for your agent where like basically you can, this is like one of my agents, I can see like how many people are interacting with the conversations, token usage, models being used. And then in the observability, we have the view of like who is interacting with this agent, whether like the channel was Gmail, it was web, and then we also have like the topic summary, and you can also click on the chat view and you will see like the whole conversation as well of this agent. So if you are an agent owner, if your department is maintaining some agents, they have a lot more control. They can see which agents are being used more, how can we improve it, whether the agent was performing as intended by the team or not. And the last thing is like if you still want to do some more advanced options. So here then we have a AI Studio available where you can start from scratch or you can start from a template as well. So let's say if I do like a template, this email responder agent here, like I can just configure some minimal information. And now I have more advanced drag and drop options available where we just don't have like actions or AI agent. We can also add code or like loop the agent, do a lot more complicated tasks, which are not available there like with simple agents. So that is, I feel like is pretty much it from my side about this whole platform. And if you want to play around more with some use case, so we can give you access for this for a trial period if you reach out to us. But overall, like I'll just hand it over back to Pallavi, and this credentials would be revoked like in next 1 hour. But if you still need more access to play around, show it to your team or something, do let us know, and then we can provide you a trial access as well. So that is everything from my side. So I'm handing it back to Pallavi.
Thank you, Jazil. Thank you so much for taking out the time and giving us the entire breakdown for the Mind platform. Um, we are already getting a request for a limited time access from Jaiswal. We'll definitely reach out to you and we can provide you for a trial period access. Jaiswal, thank you so much for your note. But all in all, thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us for the last few hours. We really appreciate all of your attendance, for taking our time on a Tuesday to sit down with us and learn a little bit more about what we're building and how we're working on data modernization and AI on our AI journey. Thank you to all of our speakers who were present today. I am, so we're getting a few questions in the chat. We are sharing, I'll go ahead and share my LinkedIn on the chat. So I'd love to connect with you guys. Please feel free to send me a connection, and I'd love to connect with you, learn a little bit more about what you are doing at your organization and what are your current priorities looking like.
Also,
But thanks.
Pallavi, someone is asking like, is the incentive extended access to all platform?
Is the incentive extended access? Not really sure what that means.
Like you were talking about whoever has joined in a like
The
in the
incentives,
that incentive.
those would be a different type of incentive, but we can definitely talk about this. We are currently present in the Chicago, so Naperville office. We do have offices in across the world. So we have one in India, Pakistan, Canada, but currently our team is working out of Naperville. Thanks a lot for all of your questions. We're definitely noting down everyone who has asked for a trial period. Would love to connect with you, and from there onwards, we can find ways to collaborate. But thank you for everyone for joining. We'll be reaching out post the event for a quick follow-up to see how you like the event, and I'd love to hear from all of you. For everyone who is requesting, could you please drop your email addresses? That would just make us easier to contact you. Just your email addresses in the chat would be really, really helpful. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Serena.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for participating, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Jazil. Thank you.